Hello, Shaul.
It's my name.
How are you this evening?
Frankly, I'm over Zoom.
Okay.
Hello.
Nancy?
Hi, Shaul. Hi, Rich. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Morning.
Hi, sis. Hi, Michelle.
Sure, Anthony, look at that sexy.
Hi, Doc.
Je moet je microfoon aanzetten.
Hi guys, looking forward to the session tonight. Thank you, Shaul. Technology.
And Skulk is hiding away in the corner there.
Hallo, maatjies.
Hoe gaan het, Skulk?
Oh,
Lekker en jy sê so.
Ja, goed, man.
Lekker man. Jy sit hier aan San Francisco.
Ek het nie mooi gehoor nie.
Sit hier aan San Francisco. Maar lekker brug agterkom.
Dit is maar net 'n wens. Dit is nie 'n
There's a dream on the wall.
dream, ja.
Like hom.
Meneer De Villiers. Welcome, Andre. Barend, all the way from the warm London. I don't believe that for a moment. There's two things London can't be, and that is dry or warm.
Gaan jy met ons praat? Daar wat jy by jou pa sit, gaan jy vir ons hallo sê?
Sê vir ons sis al ja.
Nee, hy is so stil se oorlogskip in die vyand se waters.
Net wanneer dit onpas. MyWealth.
Hallo, Sandex.
Lekker dan.
Blauwe hare, man.
Everybody.
Ek dink die maan het homself verwar met jou hare.
Ja, ek sien daar's die maan, maar die prentjies agter ook. Okay, ek sal 'n plan maak.
Hello, wife, ja. Sê hallo. Oh, nou she's gone, me. Anya, yes. Definitely a hot in Cairo. Enjoy it. I don't want to. Rich, I think when you're ready.
Okay, wonderful. So let's get going. So welcome to the 9th week of our Success Mastery Masterminds. As an opening thought, I saw this one very interesting. Don't you think this is how wealth should be spelled? Because it's all about being well. Our mental attitude, our health, our finances, everything well. So there's a thought for you. Let's just look at what we've gone through so far. Remember, success is all about you. And because of tonight's theme, I'm holding on to this emotional stability one. And remember, you can only learn to swim when you're in the water. And you can only learn about emotions when you're in relationships. So nurture those relationships and you will get the emotional stability you need. Our formula for success looks like this so far. So last week we added the relationships and the grit and the risk. So we now are basically going into our last two things tonight and next week. And then we would have completed this formula that you see on the screen. And hopefully by then we've learned a lot and learned how to use what we've learned. Here's a thought on money. If money was scarce when you grew up, it could result in you thinking that there won't be enough money for you in the future. So this evening I'm challenging a few of the thoughts that might be around there, and we're going to try and look at how we're going to change our mindsets around money. And this is one of the things that many of us experienced when we grew up. And if we didn't experience that, we were just fortunate, but I certainly experienced it. And I think that caused me to start my life and my thinking about money incorrectly. So it's something that if you haven't looked at yet and understood in the whole MyWealth process, realize that there is enough money. And you know, keep telling yourself that there isn't a lack of money. It's our ability to get to that money where our thinking needs to change. So tonight we're going to look at consciousness. It's a big word, but don't worry about the big word. Let's look at some of the practical things around consciousness and how we can be more conscious in the way we think about ourselves and our success, obviously. There's a bit of a conflict when it comes to the thinking about money. And as I mentioned, there's the conflict with our relationship with money because we believe it might be scarce. And then also there's a religious outview of money that if you don't have a lot of money, you could be, more pious or more better because you haven't got that conflict of money in your life. Well, that's just a belief. And remember that beliefs are handed down to us. We need to find our own belief when it comes to money and our success ultimately. If you read this statement, it's your worship or religion will determine how you will function and what you will achieve in life. The interesting fact is that on average, the more religious people are, the less they tend to become successful in life. So, we need to understand what our belief is about, and remember that, as I mentioned, the beliefs that we have are just something that's handed down to us. It doesn't mean it's our truth. You need to ask yourself, what is your truth? And discover your truth about what you believe about success and especially around money when it comes to the religious outlook about money. Has that skewed your thinking in any way? We need to determine that in our lives and then, let go of that and find our own truth when it comes to success. Here's a very interesting comment that I've picked up, a statement by a guy called John Sinai. And the reason why I went bankrupt was I never wanted to be rich. How often have you heard that in life? No, I would like money, but I don't want to be rich. And he says, instead, I never wanted to be poor. He actually figured out, although he never wanted to be rich, he didn't want to be poor. But of course, that is you in conflict with your relationship about money then. So, reading this statement, it makes us realize that we mustn't be in conflict with what we believe. We need to understand that, having money and being rich are two different things. But when you're using words like, I don't want to be rich, what does that actually mean? What are you telling yourself when you're saying you don't want to be rich? You want to be normal. You don't want to stick out. You don't want to do the things to make you look different from others. Well, think about success. That is going to make you look different from others. And if you want to be successful, you are clearly going to look different from others. So, stop that sort of thinking where you have to fit in. Remember that success is not about fitting in. Success is about finding your own place in life and determining who you are and being comfortable with who you are. We spoke about it last week. Let go of the opinions of others and your need to have that self-assurance come in from other people. Find your own space and find what's going to work for you and what's going to take you into your success and your thinking to get the thinking clear. Here's an interesting one as well. You got to ask yourself, are you running away from the darkness or are you running towards the light? It sounds like the same thing, but clearly when we understand how we think, you start, you either running from something or you seeing something as a future. So it's either a case of fear or it's a case of vision. What are you seeing in your life? Have you got a vision to go towards the light, or are you simply running away from the darkness? The first part of that statement talks very much to our idea of survival, and the second part to success. So we're going to be clear about how we're thinking, because that's the only way we change our thinking is to know how we are thinking. So if you look at my sort of original rule breaker idea, you have to understand the rules before you can break them. You have to understand your own thinking before you can change your thinking. If you simply think you're going to change your thinking without understanding how you're thinking, it's never going to happen. You need to clearly take stock of where you are now, then decide how you need to change. And that's why, you're always encouraged to make notes for yourself, and then look at it from week to week. Is your thinking actually changing, or are you staying where you are? Are you fixed in your ideas, or are you open to change? And that change can only take place in yourself. It's a decision you need to make. Now, there's a superpower. This superpower is called emotional intelligence. Some people know it as EQ. So let's have a look at this superpower. This is a chart that I put together for you to very easily understand emotional intelligence in a little nutshell. So firstly, if we start at the top left, we need to appreciate people for who they are. Don't judge them. Understand them. It's the same as, we look at our teenagers, we don't understand them, we think they're doing the wrong thing and they should be doing something different. When in truth, we just need to understand them so that we can, once we understand them, we'll know what motivates them to do what they do. We'll judge less and understand more. The walk in their shoes to understand them clearly states that. So, and that's, empathy is about walking in people's shoes, understanding their journey. And then once we understand their journey, we can then help them, which is very much then talks to the bottom left where we understand their feelings and remember to separate the facts from the emotions. You might have heard this before, where I think it was possibly in my session on the Thursday night, where men tend to communicate with more facts. Women tend to communicate with more emotion. But everyone communicates with, and let me just state that difference is only about 2%. So to think that women communicate with more emotion and men communicate with more facts, it's only about a 2% variance there. So, but the important thing is to understand that when we're communicating with people, try and understand what they're telling you and how they're feeling, because it helps you become more empathetic for them. And then when we communicate, we need to show them that we understand by asking questions instead of talking. In talking is just simply airing our opinion, rather ask people questions so that they can communicate more. And then remember, the whole key to empathy as well as emotional intelligence is be kind, never right. It's a challenge, that one. EQ, this is EQ 101 simplified to its nth degree. You need to give up your need to be right. Just be kind. And then the second one is, if you think you are emotionally intelligent, then you have not observed rule number 1. So think about that. That's EQ simplified, 2 rules for better emotional intelligence. And remember that the one thing about emotional intelligence is that you can actually teach yourself to be more emotionally intelligent. You can't, to increase your IQ is almost impossible, but to increase your EQ, you can practice, and within 3 months, your EQ could be double what it is today. But it's following a few simple rules. Here's the ultimate statement about EQ, is when you have a choice to be right or to be kind, choose to be kind. And remember, you can't be kind of right. You either have to be kind or right. Now, to make it practical for you, because often people will say, that's nice theory, but let's make it practical. Let's look at you, your money, and emotional intelligence. Well, you've got to ask, what is right for you? Now, when we know what is right, kind of like think of the television license, it's the right thing to do. Now, well, paying your television license is the right thing to do. Many people in business believe that the first thing they should do is pay themselves. And that's kind of a nice, right decision. So you reward yourself for the hard work you did. And that is the conventional thinking. However, if you think about this, how can you be kind to yourself? Well, this is the MyWealth principle, where instead of taking the chicken, slaughtering it and eating it, because that's rewarding yourself, you wait for the chicken you put the chicken into the system, the chicken lays the eggs, and you decide what to do with the eggs. That's the MyWealth principle. Instead of eating every chicken that you receive every month, you're going to take that chicken, you're going to put it into the system, and you're going to cause yourself to have a sustainable income. that's going to be the kind decision for your future self. And that's not financial advice. That's just my opinion. So something for you to think about. That is a practical way of using the right or kind idea. There's a difference between being nice and being kind as well. And I've put them out here for you. Nice means you never want to rock the boat. If you're kind, you'll actually make waves. You'll ask the difficult questions, because when you're kind, you are interested in the person, their growth, and what they're actually doing. Okay? Because if you're nice, you're more often more worried about not upsetting people. Whereas when you're kind, you're concerned as to what they're doing and if they're doing something right, because you're going to help them do the right thing. And ultimately, you want to help them do the kind thing. But it needs to start somewhere. Being nice means you're afraid to speak up, and especially when they're unkind. Whereas when you're kind, you're willing to speak and to take a stand and have an opinion. When you're nice, you're worried about being liked. When you're kind, you're worried if you continue to be kind. So there's something to think about. Now, the whole concept of emotional intelligence, unfortunately, if you look at the words emotional intelligence, and intelligence means that it's almost like, oh, I could become emotionally intelligent is what you would tell yourself. Whereas if we understand and we look back at the rules of emotional intelligence, that if you think you're emotionally intelligent, then you probably haven't haven't observed the first rule, which means that you've given up the need to be right, so you can't actually be emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence has actually sort of evolved, and it's now something that you would call conscious awareness. So are you constantly aware of the fact that you need to exercise your kindness on the world and give up your need to be right? That would be something, it's always a challenge. You can never get it right. So in other words, yes, you could improve your amount of emotional intelligence you have, but ultimately you would need to make sure that you're always being kind and always check yourself whether you are exercising your need to be right or are you being kind. So that's the conscious side of the awareness that needs to go around emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence probably came into the world about 15 to 20 years ago, and many of the sort of people who look at and study emotional intelligence and the world as we know it have looked at it and said, it's probably more important to be adaptable than to be emotionally intelligent, because it talks back to that conscious awareness, that's adaptability. And really the question when it comes to adaptability is how quickly can you breathe, assess, think, unlearn, relearn, and then get into action. That's what adaptability is about. And the more adaptable we are, the more successful we're going to become. So it's all about adaptability. How quickly can you breathe? Remember, it's always important to breathe because it gives you the opportunity to think, get enough oxygen into your brain. So it's not just a fallacy when they say breathe, when you're getting excited. Yes, actually breathe, take some deep breaths, assess the situation, think about it, unlearn. And so change the thinking that you started with, see if there's other possibilities, relearn something new and get into action. So Einstein says, if we're going to do the same thing over and over and over again, that's insanity. So we actually do need to adapt so that we can do the right thing. And we always got to make sure that we are doing things differently than what we've done them before, because that means we've learned from our mistakes and we'll actually be able to be more effective in the future. So instead of looking at emotional intelligence, we look now at what they call the adaptability quotient. And this is what it's made up of: curiosity. Curiosity killed the cat. We need to be curious. But the cat has 9 lives, and if you're careful, you'll have a lot as well. You just need to be careful. So curiosity, how unique are you? Are you striving to be different from the other person? Every day we can see others. Are we doing what they're doing and thinking that we're going to actually achieve something different? I remember last week I shared that thing about being in the big sausage machine or the big vending machine. If we think that we are doing the things that everyone else does, all we're doing is contributing to the big sausage machine. Nothing's going to be different, or, effectively then we're just helping someone else be successful. When you start being unique and start adapting, those will be your superpowers. And remember, it's no longer survival of the fittest, it's survival of the quickest. How quickly can you adapt? The quicker you can adapt, the earlier you will achieve your success. You look at the concept of MyWealth and just think of the questions that are still being asked. Have people actually learned something, or are they in the process of learning, or do they fail to learn? And, those are the three things that are going to determine your success ultimately. How long will it take you to forget the hurts of your past? I used an example of someone who got divorced, and 10 years later, they're complaining to their third wife about their first wife still. It's pathetic, but that is how people hold on to the past. Let go of the past. The quicker you can let go of the past, forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made, the quicker you can become successful and move on. That's what adaptability is about. If you're still harping on the past, you're living in the past. There will be no future for you because you've spent too much time in the past. So, that Winston Churchill actually once said, those who are in conflict between the past and the future, because they worry about the future, yet they worry about the past. So there's a conflict between the past and the future. They will always miss the present, and that's today. So, adaptability is letting go of all things that do not work for you and that do not work. If you think there's a chance that it can work, flog the horse until it can't be flogged anymore. But there's a time to let go. And, that's what adaptability means. You've got to be unique. You've got to adapt. As a final thought, adaptability is the powerful difference between adapting to cope and adapting to... Now, the picture has actually stopped me from being able to see this. So I'm just going to see if I can get my... okay, I can't see it. But anyway, you guys see it, so you have the ability there. I don't. Terribly sorry, can't see it. Right. And then remember...
Let me read it for you, Rich.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Adaptability is about the powerful difference between adapting to cope and adapting to win.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, there we are. And that's, back to what I said earlier. Are we just in survival mode? Are we just trying to cope? Or are we actually do we have a vision that we're going to win? So there it is. That's adapt to, and if you can adapt, that will be your powerful difference. Next week, we'll be looking at stories and the power of stories in our success. So please, if you do have a story and your story has developed, and you feel free, we'll ask people to share stories next week, but get your story ready. If you feel you've got a story, we'd love to hear your story next week as we bring the whole mastermind to a close. And that is my input for this evening. So let's open the discussion. Thank you so much. I like that, Eugene. That is how we normally spell it. Fantastic. Sometimes the fact that you couldn't spell properly was your biggest advantage, because that makes you unique as well, because everyone else thinks they can spell. And if you can't spell, or if you can spell it differently, great advantage. Right, so I'm going to keep quiet. I've done enough talking. And let's hear it from you. Who's going to be brave enough to open the floor?
Let's do it.
Thanks, Christian.
You spoke about, what how can I say? The first thing you opened with was not wanting riches, and I just want to start with. I always thought of looking at a smaller carbon footprint, or not being wasteful. That is the thing you should shy away from. Not shy away from being riches. Being wasteful is completely another thing, and it's very easy to confuse the two of each other. That's just what I want.
Rich, I'll add something. What stood out for me tonight, because we're speaking about consciousness, was that in a few of the examples you mentioned about riches and thinking of the way you think about riches. To me, what stood out tonight was that sometimes a very small or subtle difference can make a big difference. We say, example, we say the money is the root of all evil, which to me then is not exactly true, because the love of money can be the root of all evil. A subtle difference. Also, the way you spoke about the way we think about certain things and adapt, how we adapt to certain things. It just struck me tonight that a very small change in your thinking can make a very big change to the results that you actually get. And being conscious of that, and like you say, spending time and thinking about it, can actually make a big difference in the results that you eventually achieve.
Thanks, Len. Yes, I think that's often our problem. We look for huge differences and we miss the subtleties. Because all of the changes that you need to change your mindset, and most of them are just subtle changes. They're not great changes. And that's often why you miss success. Because you think it needs to be a drastic change. It actually isn't a drastic change. And so those that can actually see the subtleness are those that will achieve success. The ones who are looking for the vast, great, big thing, they'll miss it, because it's only about the subtleties. If you look at the difference between being right and kind, it's a subtle difference. So thank you for that.
I'm going to talk about that one, because that was really a wow for me tonight, I'll be honest. When I looked at the difference between being nice and being kind, we think that as we grow our people skills, that we have to grow to become nice to people. I can tell you now, if Charles could see us to think of becoming nice, he will get horrified, because it's just not who he is. But we can learn how to be kind. And that's one thing that he and him, Skulk and myself, really all try to do, is be kind to our people, because it is really to say that we have the courage to speak up when we believe that things are not the way that they should be. Whereas being nice, don't want to rock the boat. And you know what? You taught the very first time about being disruptive. I really believe that kindness is on the side of being disruptive, because that's how we add value to one another. There's just no doubt in my mind about that. So for me, just seeing that slide of the difference between nice versus kind was a wow of, hold on, do we really focus to do what is more kind than just being nice?
Thanks, Anthony. Great insight there.
Hi, Rich. Hi, everyone.
Michelle.
I'm just reminded now, when as Doctor speaking, that being kind to me is not necessarily a challenge. To me, it will be finding the right time and the appropriate words to be kind, because I'm a straight shooter. I will just say it like it is, but that doesn't always get the results that you need and that you want. So just being kind, but also in the appropriate way, I think that's very important as well.
Yes. There's a whole lesson, when it comes to this, there's a whole lesson on vulnerability. And people think that vulnerability is a weakness, but you can use vulnerability to your great advantage if you understand it. Because it's when we're weak that we actually achieve a lot more than when we think we're strong. So the vulnerability does more for you than the other person. And it's a subtle difference as well.
Yeah, let me come in add some input here. Also, when you say vulnerability, Rich, I'm also reminded to think about being genuine. Many times we are or we think we need to be something else for other people, and then we try to impress them either with our knowledge or whatever, and that robs us from being teachable or let's word humble enough to extract the value from the other person. So, and I always try when I consult with people is not to understand what is the essence they are saying, and not try to impose what I think upon them. And first try to understand their full situation. And for me, and to do that, I need to become, let's call it, humble enough to realize I need to learn now. I need to learn about the other person. I need to try to understand what they're saying, understand what they mean behind their emotions and the way they say things, and then from there, you can have a meaningful conversation. So yeah, no, but I definitely want to add to that and say you need to look at a teachable spirit. And you need to be real. You need to be genuine and not try to overproject certain strengths. But just meet that person needs to meet you, and you need to meet them on an equal plane. Yeah.
I think that teachable spirit is very interesting, because often we look for people that are teachable. You know, that's one of the things we've been taught. It's like, oh, look for someone that's teachable, because if you find someone that's teachable, well, they're going to be more effective than the person who isn't teachable. But often in our approach to that person, we're forgetting that we need to be teachable first. So we need to have a teachable spirit to find the people with a teachable spirit. Otherwise, we're not going to achieve anything. And it starts with us. You know, success is always about you. It starts with you, and everything you achieve is not dependent on the other person. It's dependent on you. So if you want to teach someone, you need to be teachable yourself. And, you know, and even though we think we got the knowledge, we've got to remind ourselves that the other person has also got something valuable to teach us before we can impart any of our so-called knowledge on them. Hugo, see, you've got your hand up.
Richard, thank you. Sorry for the funny voice. I've got a bad flu in the bed.
But you can leave it in the bed. It doesn't have to, you know, it's like leave the flu in the bed, go into the kitchen. It's like fun then, you know. Sorry.
That's like a very good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the beautiful gems that you guys are sharing. It's really upbuilding. The one gem that I also picked up in your presentation was one about being conscious. And if you don't understand what it is to be conscious, then you won't be conscious, because you stay unconscious because you live for yesterday, or as you also said, you're worried about tomorrow. So every day we make the same mistakes as yesterday, last month, or last year. So if we can become conscious of our decisions, conscious about our environment and about the people and about what we can do, then we can change, then we can grow. So that was really a very, very interesting one for me, to really go in, calm down and become conscious about your surrounds and what you need to change. But thank you very much, guys. I really enjoy this.
There you go. And you just reminded me of something about being conscious. And one of the most important things you can do on a daily basis is smile. And a smile will change the world. There's no doubt about it. Because if you think about what happens, let's say you smile at everyone you see. Well, the first person that you smile at, he's going to kind of like think, is this guy laughing at me, or is he smiling at me? What's he doing? And the next time someone smiles at him, he's going to realize, but hang on, I've actually checked myself. There's nothing wrong with me. So then they start to smile. And then the next person smiles at them, they'll smile back, and they'll simply see it like that. So just by simply smiling, we can change the world. And it has a positive effect. And it's you see, what you do is a smile is the disruptive, as Doc Anthony said earlier. When you smile at someone, it's a disruptor. They can't think about what they've been thinking about, they've got to think about why you smiled at them. And they can then decide to think about that or smile back or whatever, but it's a disruptor. And, that's the opportunity that you have. So thanks for reminding us about that one and just reminding me about that. Thanks, Hugo.
If I may interject here.
Sure, Cecil.
One thing I've learned in life is each one of us have got 2 ears and one mouth. And when we are communicating with other people, we need to use it in the same proportion. Because when we listen, and we listen to actually hear what they're saying, then we can be kind to them and we can answer their questions that that concern them. But when you are not listening and you are listening to answer, and that's the only thing going through your mind, you thinking about what you're going to say to them next, you are doing yourself a disservice. And you're doing that other person a disservice by not allowing them to share what they feel. And once you understand what they feel, then you can communicate with them and you can get down to their level or up to their level, depending on whatever, because there might be a teaching moment in it for you rather than for them.
Thanks, Cecil.
Something I'm chewing on tonight is the adaptability that you talked about. Because I find myself, if I've got a plan or so I've made up my mind about something and then suddenly you introduce a different plan or suggestion, then I need to go. It takes me a bit of time to switch around. So I can think of a couple of places in my life where I need to definitely be more adaptable in terms of changing quickly around as the situation requires.
Thanks, Willem. Yes. I think there's always space for adaptability in our lives. And often, family will remind us when we're not being adaptable.
They kind of do that to you, especially if you've got kids in the house. They throw things around constantly.
Yeah. Juanita, you had your hand up?
Hi, yeah. For some reason, my mouse doesn't want to work tonight. I think I'd like to also just bring it back to ourselves in that we have to, you can be nice to yourself or you can be kind to yourself. And there's a definite difference. And so being kind to yourself means that you accept yourself. You are stern with yourself at times. You're honest with yourself and you listen to yourself, and then you love yourself, because if you do all those things, then the ability to be kind, or the learned ability to be kind to others, will be easier. We very often forget ourselves in the whole equation. You say to yourself, I can be kind to somebody else, but I can't be kind to myself. And you do the whole negative talk to yourself while trying to be kind to others, and that doesn't work. You have to start with yourself. That's my bit.
Thanks, Juanita. Yeah, as Charles mentioned earlier, we need to make sure we're being authentic, because when you're not authentic, you're lying to yourself. Now, you can maybe lie to yourself, and you can believe your own nonsense if you want to. If you're that short-sighted, other people are not. They're going to see right through you. So you might think that you're doing or being effective, but other people don't, because they do exactly what you do. They don't do as you say you should. Your action speaks so loud they can't even hear you. We've got to remember that. So you need to be authentic. You need to ask yourself first, as Juanita said, are you being kind to yourself? And that's being truthful to yourself and being vulnerable to yourself, accepting your failures, forgiving yourself and moving on is one of the things and one of the ways of becoming more authentic.
Yeah, this lets me think of Michelle's mark that she drew up with the context. if you don't have the context, then if you're not kind to yourself, you can't have context. That's basically what I want to say.
Which I'd just like to add to what Jonita said about being kind and nice to yourself. I think you can sometimes be nice to yourself, but basically be letting yourself off the hook. Whereas if you're kind to yourself, you need to sort of force yourself to do the right things and to practice the disciplines that are going to make you become successful. But sometimes I think, you try and take the easy way out, and then by being nice to yourself, which is counterproductive.
Yes. So you could justify your excuse to yourself, which has not been, it might sound right to you, but it's actually not been very kind, because in the long run, you're going to pay for that excuse that you've made.
Something that just came up for me is that on my journey to success, I have tried my best many times and failed. And if I have to be honest with myself, looking back, it was never my best. It was what I was comfortable believing about myself. So, and in the past couple of years, I've changed. And I challenge people when they come to me and say, I've done my best, I say, I don't want your best. I want you until. You do until. Not, because if you say you're going to do your best, you give yourself an exit. Because you decide what's your best. But when you do until you're successful, that changes your frame of mind, it changes your positioning. And that takes away the excuses you can tell yourself, so that you must work within your own identity, you must work within your own beliefs, because you need to pull that through until the fruit is there. So, yeah. And thanks Lizelle for the dog food. I will swap that around for something more tasteful.
Thanks, Sean.
Maybe some, I don't want to say cat food, but child food. I always walk around with the sweeties. But yeah. But that's part of me of the success of going on a successful journey. It is the success does not lie in the until. It lies in the journey towards the until, because that is where the revelations takes place. That's where you find out who you really are, and you grow on that, and that's why you are successful, because you're not going halfway, accepting the excuse and then turn around. You have to push through until. So yeah, I will throw that one in. Enjoy it.
Charles, thanks for that. That's a lovely introduction to next week's session. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's the dog food one's a very interesting one, because sometimes we are giving people or feeding them things that we wouldn't eat ourselves, and that's the dog food analogy. Or, often we're telling people to do things that we haven't done ourselves or wouldn't be prepared to do ourselves, and we're thinking we're helping them. So you've got to eat your own food. And if you're giving the dog that food, why are you giving them something that you wouldn't like to eat? If you're having steak, maybe the dog would also like steak.
I can concur. The dog will appreciate steak.
Absolutely. But it's something to think about. It's very important, What are we serving people? Jane, you've got your hand up.
Hi, Rich. Yeah, it's quite interesting saying that. And I think that's particularly important with people's finances, because everybody's situation is different, and what suits one person doesn't necessarily suit another. And I know in my journey up to this point, I've had to do things financially that to other people that go, oh, no, that's dreadful advice. But actually, it was the option that was open to me. And it did, in the end, help me to move further on. But people can understand why you're doing this at this percentage rate. Well, it's my only choice, but actually in the end, it really helped to create something better for me. So it is very difficult sometimes to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and actually listen to what they're saying. A lot of people sort of said things to me like, oh, well, just go and do this job until things get better. But actually, I've already done that. Things didn't get better. And in the meantime, I'm just going along in the same miserable state without doing things that make me feel enriched and improve me as a person. So I think it is something that I've certainly learned. And I try and remember that when I'm talking to other people, to think, well, you've got to try and put yourself in their shoes, because you literally don't know what their day's been like. So when you said smile at somebody, you might just actually make somebody's day.
Absolutely. I think one of the best advices that I've ever heard is that remember that everyone you meet is hurting in one way or the other. And you've got to have compassion for that person. You know, we're all hurting in one way or the other. If we understand that, we are on a better footing with people. We will be more vulnerable because we understand that they too are hurting. So something to think about. Cameron, you got your hand up.
What I wanted to bring everyone's attention to, Rich, was the pay yourself first mentality. Now, you could be nice and people-pleasing, or you could treat others and yourself well. Now, that falls under the kind demeanor. Now, that doesn't mean buying a new car or a new house or going on any fancy holiday. But the main aspect I think you can all, or everyone here can draw down to at the end of the day, is the journey to that conclusion. So my quote that I actually wanted to leave everyone with tonight is, yesterday is history. No matter what's happened up until this current point in time, unfortunately, there's nothing anybody can do about it. Tomorrow is a complete mystery. You could have planned tomorrow for the past 20 years of your life, and it'll still go differently to the way you wanted it to go. But I wanted to acknowledge to everybody that today is a gift, and that is why they call it the present. Everybody from this point onward can actually make the decision to fall under the kind demeanor or the nice demeanor. To search towards your goal or to find your purpose, I feel like you have to fill both categories equally.
Cameron for president. Hello. Sure. Aguri. Fantastic, Cameron. I want you to put that on the groups, please. that is such a fantastic, unbelievable. Thank you.
Andres. Thank you. At last, Rich also gave me opportunity to speak. Now, I will normally tend to listen and try to digest everything. I think what I just realized again, because I was fortunate to attend things like this, where you have to relook at the ways you think and the way you do things and so on. And if one look at the different concepts, for instance, that Rich discussed with us tonight, with like vulnerability, kindness, relationships, the emotional intelligence and adaptability. I think that it's good to know these things and to listen to it, but if you don't actively work on it, you're not going to make that change. So what I like about what we're doing is we discuss it, and then you should eventually sort of evaluate yourself by way of one or other method or whatever, and then you have to practice it. And then what Charles said is, even if you practice it, it's like a plan, do a review, but you can easily say, but okay, I didn't achieve it. But if you plan, do a review enough times and you're serious about it, you're going to achieve it at the end of the day. So yeah, there's also a lot of active and discomfort associated with getting where you want to be. And this is sort of what I just realized myself again. And if you don't discuss these things on a regular basis, you easily forget that you should continuously change. Otherwise, you're actually moving a bit backwards again. Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andres. That's fantastic. It's so important to assess all the time. We often forget that. We seem to think that if we're comfortable, we're doing okay. Meanwhile, if we want to grow, we need to be uncomfortable, because that's the only way we know we're growing. Are you uncomfortable? Is there things that you know you should be doing that you haven't done yet? That's what's so important in our growth. There's always something that's a challenge, and we need to do it. When it comes to emotional intelligence, I used to tell people, if you think you're emotionally intelligent and you think you can't, okay, the easiest way to check yourself is go drive in the traffic. Simple, simple, simple. Because what do you know about a taxi? That's it. That's for the South Africans. What do you know about it? You know the taxi is going to upset you. So why do you get upset? Because you know it's predictable. It's going to happen. So why do you choose to get upset with a taxi if you're choosing to be emotionally intelligent? You can take that analogy and apply it to every aspect of your life. Why are you getting upset with yourself if you know you didn't do anything? That's when you should be getting upset with yourself. You're right. Okay. But when you know you keep on until, that's when you can be happy with yourself, because you're actually achieving something, even though you haven't seen the goal or the prize yet. But you know you keep being on. And that's important. That's when you need to feel happy. If you feel comfortable, you need to be unhappy, because you're not growing.
But you're opening a can of worms here.
Yeah, I know. That's it. But I'm hoping the stories are going to be fantastic next week. So that's what it's all about, because all of these things are part of your stories. And if we haven't got a story, if we haven't got a story to share, we've got nothing to share with anyone else, because it's only our stories that they connect with. When you think about it, your story has value if you can tell it. So you need to be vulnerable and tell your story. So it's a can of worms. That can of worms is what is going to inspire someone else, because they've experienced the same as you've experienced. But when we keep it to ourselves and we think we've got it all together and we never tell our stories, well, then you're wasting your time. Mark, I see you've got your hand up. Okay, Mark, did you want to say something before Mark starts?
Yeah, you know what you can write with these taxis, and if the guy just puts up his hand to say sorry, it diffuses everything. So, yeah, I suppose it's all internal.
Yeah, very much. Mike, and then Lizelle.
Yeah, I think we should really just forgive ourselves and move on. And the future, is out there, as Shaw mentioned, and Cameron, many other people. And that's my little word. But I want to stand up for Rich. And when he speaks about dog food, then you must understand that he doesn't let the dogs eat what he won't eat. So he would come around and visit us, and then he would put his hand in the food bag, and you'd eat some pellets. And we'd go like, what are you doing? He says, I'm testing your dog food. He says, this is bad. How can you feed this to animals? So I don't know. I never tasted it. But Rich came a long way with it. We used to have 2 bull mastiffs and a corgi. And then there was a packet of Beano dog biscuits as kids, where Rich would take the dog biscuits out and go, one for the bull mastiff, one for me. One for the other bull mastiff, one for me. And then one for the corgi. So, just, telling you that your presenter, he puts his money where his mouth is. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Don't know whether I should smile or cry, but anyway, it's good.
I'll start by crying, Rich.
Yeah, I think so. What were we saying about family? They will always call you out for your nonsense. Yeah.
but at least after we had a good sob about it, we can laugh together and think of the fun memories you created for us.
That's it. Lizelle, over to you.
Hi, Rich and team. I never thought that dog food will make such a good story. So thank you for that. 2 cents worth on adaptability. What I realized tonight is that sometimes we want to focus on resilience without first becoming adaptable. And it ties together for me with being able to be vulnerable, in the sense that change is never easy for anybody. So let's stop, fooling ourselves. Change is difficult. And to be vulnerable enough to acknowledge that you need to make the change and adapt, and it's ongoing, it's on a daily basis. And sometimes you have to take 2 steps back before you can go a step forward. And not to be so hard on yourself, rather be kind, and not to think that that is failure. Okay? Because sometimes in the stepping back, you get perspective in order to move forward. So I just wanted to thank you for adding that to my thinking and process, is the step for adaptability, that sometimes we do know that we do, but it's almost like we're forgetting it while we're doing it. So, and it's a constant thing. It's not a once-off thing. It's an ongoing, continuous thing. Thanks for tonight.
Thanks, Lizelle. Leon, did you want to say something? Leon, you muted there.
You muted yourself.
Right, we can hear you again.
Hi guys, that was me trying to manage the audience.
You see, it's the team captain like Charles necessary to manage the audience, because it's for people like me who's listening and reading while I'm playing around on the screen, and now I think I want to say something, and that's my 2 cents. I'm enjoying everything. We're learning every day and every session. And yeah, as I've typed, live your witness if necessary. If necessary, use words. Be a reflection of what you want others to be, and be the difference you want others to be.
That's right. Just remember that living your reflection means being out there, and not like the damsel in distress who stayed in the house waiting for the prince to come on the white horse. And, and then she forgot that she lived in a big house with electric fencing, so there was no chance that the poor prince could get there with his white horse, So your witness needs to be out there, not you thinking that you're making a witness when you're staying at home. You need to be part of the community to make the witness.
Yeah, it also adds up to people. We hear it every day when they say, "Now I'm just waiting for my ship to come in," but they're standing at the railway station.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. You got to position yourself correctly.
Yeah, if you want success, expect success.
Yeah, you can't be witnessing to the dogs and cats. You need to be witnessing to the people. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to inform you, most of your ships have come in. Just waiting for you in the harbour. You need to go and fetch them.
That's right.
So my ship sunk.
Don't worry, we've got some flatly steel. We'll fix it.
Okay, thanks. I need that.
Yeah, we've got a salvage crew going down for the gold on the ship. Don't worry, Mark.
Yeah, and something, just what Charles just said, is that many of our ships already came in and they're waiting for us in the harbor to come on board. I've heard something very valuable not long ago, where a teacher asked the class to write down the 7 wonders of the world. And the answers came in, Vic Falls and the canyons in America and all the historic places we're all familiar with. And then the answer came in from a little girl, the 7 wonders of the world, that we so easily accept for granted, is the ability to speak, the ability to hear, the ability to experience emotions, the ability to touch one another, the ability to give, the ability to have passion, the ability to get up in the morning. Those are the wonders of the world that we so easily forget. And that adds to Shoal's ships that's already waiting in the harbor for us. You just need to acknowledge them and get on board. Thank you.
So I guess my question, coming on the back of what Charles said, when did your ship arrive in the harbour?
Your ship arrived.
Who mentioned that before with Leon there, who was talking?
It was Shoal.
When we were born.
When we were born, yes. Your ship was already there. The gift was there for you. When you were conceived, when you were thought of, it was there already. So it's just a matter of when will you accept it? When will you believe it's yours? Because that's what's holding you back at the moment, is you not believing that your ship is in the harbour. You think it was hijacked, or the pirates got to it before you did. No, it's safe, it's protected. There's legions of angels around your ship, protecting your ship. And you just need to believe it. And then take it. It's yours.
Thanks. Your last comment there, I think I needed to hear. So appreciate that.
Pleasure, Willem. Mike?
I think it's also asking yourself, okay, so my ship's in the harbour. But what now? All right. How many of us actually think beyond just having the ship in the harbour? Plan your life. Get your dreams in order. Know what it is. You got the ship. Charles told you got the ship. You got it. What now? You've been waiting your whole life for it. It has arrived. So what are you going to do now? And I think I see it far too often, speaking to people. They have absolutely no idea what they want. No dreams. No passion. It's just like, oh, I'll get a lot of money and I'll do whatever I like. And what is that? Oh, I don't know. Let's see if I get the money first. But that's the wrong attitude. That's what holds us back. Dream, dream. It's the prayer we give to God. Do that. Because otherwise, what are you asking for? The past? Something better than the past? Or are you really seeing into the future? And something that you can dream and you can grasp on. And don't grasp onto anything. Leave the money behind. You've got enough of that. Go and find that which money can't buy. And you can truly live. And then that's the witness that we need to be. There's the one that lives, the one that enjoys life, not the one who's like, certainly not the damsel in distress in the house that just hangs in there all day waiting for the prince. Consciousness is just being awake, just being present, wanting to do what you uniquely want to do. And find out what that is, what makes you unique and what you need to do. Awesome.
Thanks, Mike. And what Christian said earlier about not squandering and wasting. If just remember that your ship is there, but you need to show that you are worthy of that ship. I asked a question last week. If MyWealth is going live, are you ready to go live? Not MyWealth. MyWealth's long ready to go live. You need to be ready to go live. Marie, over to you.
Marie, just before you start, I just want to add to what Mike said. He said dream big. I want to change that and say dream purposefully big. Dream with purpose. So it's nice to dream big about a big house. But what purpose does that serve? How is that going to help you be fulfilled? Something that I'm extremely afraid of is being 120 years old and looking back on my life and having no satisfaction. Because I did not live with purpose and intent. So include that in your dreaming. Mario.
Thank you, Charles.
Before I say what I wanted to say, I just want to follow up with what Charles said. It is absolutely true. Sometimes you have goals that you want to achieve. You know, if you ask somebody if you win $1 million or whatever, many will say they want to go to this place, they want to be on the beach, they want to buy this and they want to buy that, you know, but if you finally have to get there, you might find that it is not really satisfying you. So you must be careful what you wish for and what your goal is. I just want to mention to you that, you know, for many years I wanted to go to South Africa to visit my family, and every time there's a door closing and it's very, very hard for me. But I keep hope, and I'm late on this, so I have missed the points here, but I think what I want to give you is relevant. So I was in a cell group just now, that's why I'm late, and the topic was hope. So, you know, we are hoping for financial gain, but we've got to look at the spiritual gain as well in our journey to get there. And, you know, sometimes we want to force doors open. We want to go somewhere, but there's a reason why that door is sometimes closed for you. And also, I just want to give you this verse that was given to me, which meant a lot to me. It was in Afrikaans, but I'll give it in English. Acts 12, verse 10. They passed first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they had walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left them. I found, you know, a few months ago in Korea, I had no hope. My salary was gone. I couldn't get any. I'm not allowed to have any other job but my teaching, and they didn't want to provide me my salary. And out of the blue, things just fell into place, and I survived for 3 months without a salary here. And nobody can send me money either, because it is very expensive with wire transfer, and I'm not allowed to get Bitcoin. I'm not allowed to download it. So I had miracles happen in my life in that time. And that is what all of us can keep on, is the hope and the belief with our goals that we are setting. Also be aware of the spiritual journey that you're on, and some things can fall in place without having to force it to fall in place. It will, and with MyWealth, we can definitely, you know, work and walk the path as well spiritually.
Thanks, Marie. Skulk, did you want to say something? Just before Skulk talks, we're having a big thunderstorm here, and it looks like the electricity has been affected. So I might lose you guys. So just as a warning, thank you. Over to you, Skulk.
Hello, Rich. Yeah, certainly. I mean, so Italy is also getting load shedding now, eh?
It's a thunderstorm, not load shedding.
You've got a solution coming. It's interesting hearing all these people sinking ships with all the dog food on them, and yeah, it's crazy stuff. It's very interesting stuff. Now, I like this conversation. Everybody who's made a contribution was very precious. I just want to touch on the emotional coefficiency, or the emotional intelligence, and you know how my story locked into that. I know I can't tell my story next week because it's a long one. So I'll just tell you a snippet now on the emotional coefficient. You know, it's an understanding that you have. It's, you know, and the word understand means to stand under, which means literally to stand in that person's place. And then in his shoes. So we've got different ways to express that. Yes, yeah, no. That okay, I understand your thunderstorm now clapping you. I can see.
I'm gonna sign off. So good night, everyone. See you next week. Sorry about this. Cheers. Sorry. Bye bye.
So we have to understand how people feel and how they will feel by your actions. And that is really what emotional intelligence is about for me, is where you are able to understand your actions will make people feel a certain way. And we don't want to make people feel even worse than they're already feeling. It's like Rich alluded to earlier, that, we are all hurting on some level or another. And, listening to Marie's story now, they're over in Korea, and God really has your number. That's one thing I've realized very early in my life is, when there was no hope, flipping, there was no hope for anything to come through on the conventional channels that normally came into my life. None of the streams of income that I had, bore any fruit. And God did miracles, and that's one thing I can testify over and over. And I understand your story, Marie, and, I'm really proud of the way that you stick in faith, and God does come through for people who are willing to stand on His word and say, listen, I'm a child of God. I don't have to fear these things. And part of the emotional proficiency, and that also the way it worked out in my life is, the Lord taught me on the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. Those three pertains to the relationship that you have with God. And then you have patience, kindness, and goodness. Now that is the part where you relate with people. And then the other ones is faithfulness, self-control, and humility or gentleness. That's your relationship with yourself. And if you have these 9 fruit of the Spirit, I think then you are well able to empathize with people. And goodness speaks about sympathy, but kindness is goodness in action. So there's an action that is attached to kindness. And kindness has got to do with the empathy part, where you'll feel sorry for the person, but you'll also help him. There's a next step that you take and say, let me help this person. Let me see how I can make a difference in this person's life by taking an action of some sort, communicating, reaching out, putting yourself out there, like Rich said. So I think on emotional proficiency, it's just that thing of, listen, reach out to people. Because if you are kind to yourself, you will love your neighbor like you love yourself. And so it's obviously first inward, like Juanita also said. You have to be kind with yourself. You have to love yourself, but in a proper way, so that you will also be able to love your neighbor. Everything flows from your own heart, and the fuller your heart is, the more you have to give to people. The more you possess within yourself to be able to help your neighbor. So let's get our own hearts full of the fruit of the Spirit, so that people can come and pluck from that fruit and eat it. And that's how, we bless other people. And then I want to ask the question to everybody, it's like, your emotional proficiency will always match the amount of the fruit of the Spirit you have, or the degree of the fruit of the Spirit you have in your life. And let's get full of cultivating the fruit of the Spirit in our lives, so that the more we have, the more we are able to give to people as well. And that's, I think, where emotional intelligence plays a huge role. That is how emotional intelligence plays out in my life, certainly. Is patience with people's shortcomings. They're struggling, they're suffering. And we have to have patience with that. We have to suffer long. And then the kindness and the goodness. Goodness is latent, it's inside, but the kindness, let's reach out. That was my 5 cents. Charlotte, you're going to close it. Are you still there?
No, I'll post off.
Wakey.
Of course I'm still here, that's why I can answer you.
I didn't see your answer.
Okay. I think, Skalk, awesome. I think that was great feedback. And I just love the framework that you gave. Thanks for the Z for writing that into the chat. but yeah, to stand under, and that's actually profound, and goodness in action. Yeah, so awesome. Thank you, Scott, for helping us with that. Anthony, are you still here? There you
Yes,
go.
I am.
So take over.
Excellent. Guys, I think that will be in agreement that the session tonight was very thought-provoking and was at a much deeper level, challenging us to think about, number one, our emotional intelligence, and then the adaptability quotient that makes it possible to be effective in that area. But when you heard the connection with the spiritual side that was really opened up, Mari took it out beautifully, but I think the way Skulk now summarized it is the way for us to understand that it is faith in action that really brings the difference. Because understanding, as he said, the fruit of the Spirit, I'm challenged to look at the part which God does and the part which we have to do ourselves. However, we are measured by our fruit, and therefore it is my prayer, along with supporting Skulk, in saying, let's self-evaluate and let's take ourselves to the next level and take accountability. Where we have to fix it, fix it. And where we can reach out to others and be better, let's do so. But let our actions be evident to our brothers and sisters so that MyWealth people stand out as people of a difference. And just to see the support and encouragement, like here, Charles has had a heck of a day speaking to people every half an hour, but yet being here this time of night in support, because this is his life and passion. So guys, again, I just want to say, I take my hat off to our executive team that love this field truly and showing their fruit because they are here to do so. So to both Skulk and Sol, I want to say, guys, thank you. I love you and I'm proud of you. And to all of us in the field, thank you that we can feel like a family, that we can talk openly and we are there for each other. Can't wait to see each of you in live again. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the evening and let your mind dwell on such things. Take care.
Yes, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening further.
Lekker om geskalk weer te hoor.
Bye.
Dankie, Christian.
Good evening.
Hallo man, ons gaan jou nou meer moet hoor, né?
Mark, that wasn't the sinking ship, it was a submarine, okay?
Okay, I got it.
I saw your smile disappeared when he started talking about the taxis. I'm very aware and conscious.
No. I've got stuff I have to work on.
Yeah, I know. A few of us.
You see, you have to understand the construction of the ship first. You see, most people have a few screws missing. When it comes to others, the whole damn toolbox is gone, Skulk.
Yeah. I hope he's not referring to his dad, otherwise he's going to get a clap just now.
No, he's not.
Oh, that's fun.
Good evening, guys. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.